If we truly want to attack the wealth gap, there has to be one major factor. Economically, we have to correct. And I want to address that in this video. Now, to be completely clear, the wealth gap has a myriad of issues that contributes to it. I am well aware of that. But I just went to a conference recently that was made up of a ton of professionals across a particular industry we're going to be covering in this video. And, it really opened my eyes and substantiated things that I cover a lot on this channel and just personal perspectives and views around the wealth gap and at least one single point of failure that is keeping us there as Black America in particular. So I want to cover that in this video, and I want to give two prominent solutions with maybe a little extra on the back end. I really want to give my perspective on two things we could really do differently in this one particular economic category that can really help close the wealth gap and help us get into a better economic shape overall as a people in this country. So the particular economic marker I'm focused on is home ownership. And the conference that I recently went to was the Black Homeownership Summit. It happened to be held in my city at a respected, HBCU and Dillard University. And I was able to take some time off actually from work and take my time and go to that event. I'll probably have some pictures put up on the Instagram for the channel, around that soon enough, kind of running behind on that. But that conference was held by what's called NAREB, which is NAREB. And I want to just give you some quick context on who they are. They're a National Association of Real Estate Brokers, for those of you who may not be familiar. A trade organization for real estate professionals founded in 1947 by African-American professionals to combat housing discrimination and promote fair housing for all Americans. Members known as realtors include a diverse range of real estate professionals like brokers, agents, mortgage brokers, and other advocates. So their job and their mission and ambition is to create fair housing across the country, and then just to give attention and shed light on any forms of discrimination or, right now, major challenges to equitable housing in the country as far as home ownership is concerned. So that having been said, that conference was eye-opening for me. For one, I got to sit back and watch some intelligent, informed, and experienced people talk about this topic, how the wealth gap is really exacerbated by home ownership issues and a lack of equity in home ownership in this country. A lot of wealth is passed down and passed through real estate, a lot of it. And, when you start thinking about, funding your kids' college, you start thinking about maybe funding your first business and being able to fund that yourself. These are just a couple quick ideas that come off the top of the head that was spoke on at the conference by, other experienced, high-ranking professionals talking about how this has personally impacted them, their ability to pay for their kids' college, fund their own initial businesses and really catapult their financial situation because they owned a home, built equity, and was able to tap that equity. That alone. We're not talking about inheritance. We're not talking about all the other different ways, owning real estate can really change your financial picture and thus change your legacy. So when you talk about the wealth gap, this is a single point of failure that we have for sure. We could fix a lot just through increasing home ownership strategically, not just owning any home, any property, anywhere, but strategically owning more desirable real estate and riding the wave of inflation that will continue on up. So NAREB did a great job at that summit. I learned a lot. I also got to sit back and watch a lot of the points I cover on this channel be substantiated. Some of the big things that I was asked, and I didn't speak at the conference, but I had other professionals there from the financial institution I work for that were on a national level that were there at that conference that was picking my brain about, what I thought about the issue. And one of the things that I continue to harp on that I think continues to fly under the radar that I have to be honest was only brushed past, on stage at this event was the, underbanked and unbanked crisis in Black America. North of 30% of us can't qualify for a bank account or don't have reasonably fair access to banks. We don't qualify for quality banking relationships. That leads out to poor budgeting. It leads out to no or very little or poor credit development. It leads to you paying for a lot more for financial services. The list goes on. I've covered the underbanked, unbanked, issue several times in live streams and other videos, and I'll probably cover it again in the future. But that is one of the fundamental issues that I believe leads to the inability to qualify for a home and why so many of us struggle to qualify for a home and to get on the ladder of home ownership and expand out into real estate ownership. NARAB did a great job of covering a myriad of other challenges that come in there. Everything from insurance costs, biases on inspection, biases on appraisal, a lot of different challenges that still exist that's keeping a lot of us from being able to participate in this game of real estate on an equitable level. And that having been said, we need to talk about where real estate looks like it's going, or at least the effort behind it is going. We're hearing a 50-year mortgage. We're hearing a portable mortgage. We know that there's a big push to get interest rates way down fast. We're looking at a myriad of ideologies, tactics, strategies, and proposals to get real estate active again. And it is imperative that we reposition ourselves to get in position to actually ride that wave up. Because even half of these proposals are put in place in the next couple to few years, while we still have a housing shortage, by the way, because a lot of the effort is around demand. A lot of what you're seeing in the headlines, a lot of what you're hearing about contributing to getting the real estate market jump started is really a scenario where they're focusing on demand, which is to say that they're trying to create way more qualified borrowers. They're trying to either drop credit score requirements. They're looking to expand mortgage repayment terms and amortization, et cetera. They're looking to do all these things. They added Vantage into the mix, instead of just FICO dominating the lending industry for mortgages, they added in Vantage now, and that's creeping in because Vantage tends to be more lenient and counts more data that more minority Americans tend to have when they don't have traditional credit data. So there's a lot of different things being put in place, proposed, that if a half of this gets put into place effectively in the next year or so, real estate is going to go through the roof again, because it's going to create a massive surge in demand of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of buyers for the same amount of real estate out there, even though it's at a deficit already. There's multi-million home shortage in this country, according to official sources. 2, 4, 6 million home shortage, according to official sources. You can't build that many homes at scale in desirable areas in a couple years. You just can't. It's not a thing. And so you're going to have hundreds of thousands to potentially millions of more applicants getting into the fray for the similar amount of real estate that's been there. We went through that with COVID. When rates dropped all the way down to the floor, a bunch of money got pumped in the system. We experienced a massive run up in real estate. We're talking about over $150,000 in the median housing price in the country, like in a matter of a couple to a few years. Those of us that are in Black America, when we talk about the wealth gap, we start talking about home ownership. We start talking about, the impact that home ownership can have financially and non-financially. Those moving proposals that's going around in the political spectrum right now, in the private market right now, to get real estate moving around because it's slowed down dramatically due to the interest rate increases and the spike in prices. These things are going to be catastrophic if we're not repositioned to get, like I said, in position to join and ride the wave. That's just it. And like I said, being underbanked and unbanked is a problem. For those of us that are a couple layers above that, we have cash issues. A lot of us just don't have the cash to put down into real estate. There's a lot of banks and financial institutions putting money on the table. So that's something you have to keep your eyes out for. Ton of money on the table for down payment assistance and closing cost assistance. That having been said, a lot of us don't have that. We may have the job, we may have, okay credit. We don't have the cash. There's always a barrier. And so we have to look for solutions. 2 solutions that was, partially discussed at the NARAB conference or summit rather. I would say one of them that was discussed the most. The other one I'm kind of throwing in there, but was touched on. Number 1 is going to be generational housing, meaning more of us collectively owning a home and doing it not out of desperation, but out of financial strategy. More of us combining our financial, records, financial prowess to buy real estate. Other cultures do it all the time. And I know you hear that all the time, but it's facts. I'm a banker. I work in the industry. I'm around this stuff all the time. It's really true. I literally see it firsthand. I'm not just talking about stats that you can Google. I'm really talking about seeing people, other people from other backgrounds come in droves collectively to bank, to borrow, to start businesses, to buy homes. They don't do this stuff on their own. We're one of the only cultures that has this, ideology and cultural norm of trying to just like be the one. Like we just this sense of shame or this not coolness around, living with others like collectively, unless we're broke and we don't have a choice. At that point is okay. But strategically, we just don't seem to see the value in pulling together and pooling resources. It works, people. It works, believe it or not. Like it really does work. And I watch it all the time. We have to get to a point where we're pooling our resources. This can be multi-generational. This can be, vertical or horizontal. Some of us are in crazy setups where we have extended family on extended family, laterally speaking. And I don't want to go into the weeds on that, but we need to put a lot of these petty differences to the side. A lot of this poor cultural ideology around not having your own and not having the fancy stuff and not being able to afford a house on your own. Put all of that ridiculousness to the side and pool our resources to get on the property ladder and get more of us on the property ladder. Because I'm telling you right now, real estate can totally crash at some point. It might crash at some point, but it is not on track to do so in the near future. It is also not something that will be allowed to stay down for long. The financial system and political class will not allow that to happen. It's too much economic activity, tax revenue, money and wealth tied up in real estate to let it go down and stay down. It's not going to happen. So we have to democratize access to real estate. That number one proposal is to collectively, generationally own homes, not out of desperation, but out of strategy, pooling resources. It's not enough for just couples to buy homes. There's huge financial stats showing that that's a huge benefit that other cultures get to lean into, is buying in as couples. But it needs to go beyond that. Like we need to be talking about, cousins, brothers, siblings. Like if everybody's not on a property ladder, then whoever isn't needs to be getting in with somebody who's on a property ladder and pooling together to expand into buying more real estate. The second thing I'm going to propose is buying multifamily real estate and house hacking, and or if you're not in a place where there's naturally 2 to 4 units, like in my city where I'm from, there is in New Orleans, there's a ton of 2 to 4 units in the metro area. If you're not in a city like that, pay attention to the zoning and do your research, or go look it up, or go contact the city and find out the zoning laws. A lot of places allow you to do additional dwelling units. You can convert garages, you can do mother-in-law suites, you can literally build out a mother-in-law suite or an addition to the home. These different cities would love to draw in more revenue. They'd love to increase the property value through different mechanisms like zoning adjustments. You can fight for these things. You can check on these things. You can propose them. That's doable. You have the ability to do that as a taxpayer. And so I'm proposing, find out if there's the real estate there already for 2 to 4 unit multifamily play. If not, then push and find out more about the zoning in your particular city and learn if there's an opportunity for you to buy real estate strategically, maybe even fixer-uppers, and add additional dwelling spaces to it that you can turn into a rental space or bring family members in who are going to be productive and constructive and add to the equation and not cause the problem. You want financial inclusion. You want collective financial gathering. You want to pool it all together, for lack of a better term. Like you want to pool this all together. Find productive people around you. If your family members and your immediate peers are not those people, then get away from them and find people who are, that are willing to add to the solution and not be a part of the problem. Because real estate is flexible. There's so many ways to build wealth, and there's a handful of ways to profit in real estate, but the mechanisms you can use to do that, to reach those profit centers, are plentiful. And I'm giving you a couple right now. If you don't have enough cash, if you don't have enough borrowing capacity on your own, collectively join in with people who do and pool them together. On top of that, create income. Stop buying emotionally and start buying financially first. We have to put the emotion of buying the dream houses to the side and buy distressed properties, buy multifamily properties. We have to strategically buy real estate until we're in a financial and economic position where we can go buy the dream property. I'm not telling you to give up on your aspirations. I'm telling you to bite down and push through to get where you're trying to go. We're in a deficit, a huge one. And too many of us are trying to function like the rest of the people in this country who are already in certain places and didn't start where we started from. You're not going to be able to just be a traveling damsel across the United States and across the world in your 20s and 30s. You're not going to be able to just like sacrifice building a career. You're not going to be able to delay owning a home. I'm just going to rent. Like, what? Like, you're serious? Like, we can't afford to do that. Most of us don't have that luxury. Even some of us that are doing well on paper are struggling. I know people close to me who are in the upper 5-6 figures in earnings, that are in situations where they're still living paycheck to paycheck. And the most of it is tied to trying to do everything on their own, believe it or not. We have to pool together our resources, our capabilities, our mindsets, and do so productively financially. And home ownership is a huge way to really close the wealth gap, because once you build wealth in real estate, you can expand that out to so many different avenues. As I already talked about, increasing the quality of life, paying for education, funding businesses. Once you get that equity, once you get the cash flow, once you get the tax benefits, you can take that money and pour it into any other opportunity at that point in time. But there's no more accessible way to strategically build wealth at relative scale than buying a home and being in real estate. The stock market is one way, but not as easy, not as predictable, not as stable. Like business ownership, not nearly as easy and straightforward. Like home ownership is a very straightforward way. It's not easy, but it is a straightforward way to close the wealth gap, improve our situation, rebuild communities, reinvest that capital back into the communities, expand things out, fund businesses, support businesses, create communities of homeowners, because the dynamics change, the infrastructure change, the voting scenarios change when you have real homeowners that have real stake, in these different, variations of politics and influence. So let's focus around this. I just wanted to touch this because that summit really touched me, and I already cover these types of topics constantly. But going to that summit and having so many professionals substantiate things that I've been saying and bring in new perspectives as well on topics that I didn't even think about or stats I didn't even know was extremely helpful. So I implore y'all to do your research on NARAB. I implore you to do your research on the home ownership situation. I implore you, if you're not already familiar, do your research on the home ownership statistics in the country and how that's influencing the overall wealth gap in this country, because it is very significant. But other than that, leave your comments, your thoughts down below. Let me know what you're thinking, on the topic. Let me know what you think about the wealth gap, and what improvements are at least some of the more attainable goals that can be reached to improve the wealth gap, close the wealth gap. Let me know what you think down below. Let me know if you're currently a homeowner. Let me know if you've owned in the past, you plan to own. Let me know your thoughts around that as well, or your positions, your strategies. Let me know what you think about the 2 solutions and proposals that I put out. Generational home ownership, multifamily property, house hacking. Nothing new under the sun with those. But at the end of the day, I think this is something that's accessible for us that we're taking for granted we can concentrate on. So comment down below and let me know your thoughts there. Again, I'll probably post more images and pictures and stuff of this conference on Instagram. So get in the description down below and tune in with me there. If you have any particular questions for me as a financial professional, a banker, get in the description down below with those. Other than that, to all my pioneers, welcome back. To my new viewers, welcome in. Like, comment, share, subscribe if it gives you the option. Boost the video, support the channel so the channel can continue to support you. Other than that, I want each and every one of you to stay focused, stay in motion. I'll see y'all soon.